Hello and welcome everybody on my channel. This time I will tell you an absolutely shocking story. It was an emergency landing which I experienced in the capital of Iceland, in Reykjavik. Well, actually I wanted to travel to Canada, so I was very upset. Now it is January 2023, so I am more relaxed because actually this story happened in August of last year. But let's start with the beginning of the story. So usually an airplane ticket back that time, I don't know now because I didn't check, but last year it was at least 1,200 euro for traveling from this region of East Europe where I'm living to Canada. And well, I saw a very good promotional price with only a hand luggage, and I thought I must use this occasion to travel to Toronto. Why I wanted to go there? It's a childhood dream for me to see the Niagara Falls, and from Toronto is only 2 hours by train or a bus, so it's absolutely a good choice to discover the Niagara Falls from the Canadian side using this occasion. And well, Toronto is a big city, but it's not much to see, so 3-4 days are enough to check the sightseeing locations. So I thought if I travel there for only 5 days, I can just go there with a hand luggage, and it will be absolutely enough. Yes, I forgot to tell the price of this flight. It was 650 euros, so it was not so expensive comparing to the distance, and also to the normal prices usually to Canada. So what happened? Actually, when I booked this trip, I checked from my city as a starting point and as a returning point, and the price for that turnaround trip was 850 euro. But then I checked what happens if I fly from Budapest and I'm returning back to my city, Cluj. And this way it was only 650 euro. Well, you can use this booking option. It is called multi-city. And well, in this case, I was lucky to catch this very good combination. After that, I also booked my accommodation. You need to consider this, that in Canada and especially in Toronto, prices are very high, so I couldn't afford to stay, I don't know, 2 weeks or longer. So this also matched to my plans that I stay only 5 nights. So yeah, actually I think it was a well-organized trip. It was no problem with that. Well, probably some people will call me crazy to travel only for 5 days to Canada, but I really wanted to fulfill my childhood dreams. I was absolutely excited for my trip, and it started from Budapest, the capital of Hungary. The first flight was to Warsaw, the capital of Poland, and from there the second flight was to Toronto. So I was sitting already on the second flight, and we were flying above the amazing icebergs of Greenland. It was absolutely beautiful, maybe one of the most beautiful sights I ever saw in my life. And suddenly I heard noises from the back of the airplane, from the galley, and then somebody started to yell, and well, some passengers went there to check what's happening, and they come back. They told me that there is a guy who is very drunk, and well, he demanded more alcohol from the stewardesses, and they refused to give this passenger more alcohol because he was already very drunk, and he started shouting, "This is a very bad service," and used, of course, very bad words. And well, this is absolutely shocking that he wanted to beat the stewardesses. He was really aggressive, and luckily there were 2 Englishmen, and they could hold this guy. They somehow captured him, but still he was really crazy, and he wanted to escape from these 2 guys and to jump on the stewardesses. I don't know what he was thinking. I also went to the back of the airplane, to the galley, in order to check the situation. I wanted to see this guy's face, how he does look like. And I think, in my opinion, he also took some pills. He looked like a drug addict, and he didn't observe this is reality, and he wanted to open the emergency door well, absolutely incredible that this can happen on a flight. And he kept pushing with his hand the side of the airplane like this, and started to beat the airplane. So I don't know what he was thinking, but he was really parallel to reality. And well, this drama continued like 1 hour long, when the pilot announced that we will have an emergency landing in Reykjavik in Iceland. So all passengers became very nervous, of course, because we didn't know what will happen next, and everybody was asking the stewardesses if we can still fly to Toronto. They said they don't know, and well, the situation calmed down somehow, because this guy sat down. I don't know how and who told him what, but somehow he calmed down, and we could fly back towards Reykjavik. And we landed there, but when the pilot announced that we will land in some minutes, then he again started some absolutely incredible moves. So he stand up and he started running towards the pilot's cabin. And well, the English people again were there, the same two who tackled him down, and they did the same again, and they pushed them on the floor. So it was absolutely like a thriller movie, because children were crying, everybody was shouting, and there was also a guy who was a friend of this absolute idiot. And well, what happened then? The stewardesses also tried to calm down these English guys to not beat him, because I think they were also too nervous at that moment, because they had enough. So it was absolutely understandable that we will lose time at least, and we cannot get to Canada right on time because of one absolutely stupid guy. A Canadian man filmed everything, and he was taking videos. Well, I didn't think about it. I wanted to land safe and sound, and well, I was thinking about my travel plans. What will happen if I cannot manage to go to Toronto? Well, I will tell you about this more later. So what happened? This guy was tackled down on the floor, and this is how we landed in Iceland. And this Canadian man continued to shout to him that you will do service to everybody in the jail, and you will rotten in the jail, and he was using very bad words, until a woman told him, okay, stop, sir, there are many children here, so yeah, please don't use such a bad words. So it was absolutely chaos. And when we landed, 10, 12 Icelandic policemen came, and they put a handcuff on this guy, and then everybody was shouting to him, okay, now you be a big guy, and I don't know, it was completely unnecessary. But of course, the passengers were also very nervous, so somehow they needed to get lost of these very stressing feelings. We stayed 3 hours inside of the airplane until the stewardesses collected all photos and videos as evidences for the case. This was completely necessary in order to finish their protocols. And we were very nervous, because they didn't know what will happen, if we can get a hotel in Iceland and we can fly towards Toronto tomorrow, or what will happen. But later the pilot announced that we cannot fly anymore to Toronto, we need to go back to Warsaw. Of course, everybody was very upset, but this Canadian guy was the angriest, and he said we should disobey, we shouldn't accept our fate, and we should resist against this decision of the pilot. But well, he had some followers, but fortunately the stewardesses could calm him down, and we were flying towards Warsaw. So what happened? The stewardesses told us that no problem, we will land at 2 a.m. in the night. There will be a crew waiting for us, and they will give us a hotel, and we can fly to Canada next day. Well, nothing was true from this. It was a complete lie, because when we landed, it was a ghost airport. Absolutely nobody was there. So you can imagine that we were 12 hours totally on that airplane, just to come back to Warsaw, because we took off at 2 p.m. and we landed again at 2 a.m. in Warsaw. And then we needed to wait until 5 a.m. at an information desk of LOT Polish Airlines until somebody came to give us some hotels. I was very lucky because I found this information desk between the first passengers, so I didn't need to wait in a long queue. But you can imagine 300 people waiting in a queue without water, without any food, and well, it was a very long queue waiting to solve our destiny. Of course, all passengers in the queue were very nervous and very angry because of this treatment. Absolutely nobody there, and well, they could prepare because they knew that we have an emergency landing in Reykjavik, and that was like 8 p.m. In the evening, so they could bring some stuff to the airport in order to welcome us. And I also met a girl in the queue, and she missed her medical appointment. She needed to have a surgical intervention, and she missed that because of this very stupid alcoholic drug addict guy. So you can imagine that many people missed something, and in that moment I felt, okay, well, I will maybe miss my Niagara Falls trip, but this is the smallest problem. There are many other passengers here, and they all have their fate and their plans which will not be accomplished because of this emergency landing. So we were waiting until 5 a.m. At 5 a.m. 3 staffs of LOT Polish Airlines showed up, but of course for 300 people this was a very slow dealing with everybody's need and to which flight must be rebooked. Well, there were not many options. I arrived there at 7 a.m. and they told me that only the day after tomorrow I can fly to Toronto, which means I need to reorganize all my trip and need to ask for other holiday. So, well, they also mentioned that it's not really 100% sure that I can get that flight. So I said, okay, then I will just want to fly home and I need compensation. Well, about this compensation, it was very tricky. I need to submit a form. They didn't give me any compensation right back, only hotel room for 2 nights. Why for 2 nights? Because there was also no flight to Cluj from Warsaw on that day. So I need to wait one more night. But actually one night was already over because it was 7 a.m. So I went back to the hotel and slept a little bit. Then I walked in Warsaw, a city which I discovered earlier, so I was not really happy about this change of plans, and on the next day I could fly back. But what I wanted to say about compensation, after I submitted this form, I needed to wait more than 2 months until I got my money back, and they refunded me only for Warsaw, Toronto, and the flight back Toronto, Warsaw. Why? I also called the call center, what is this? Because I flew from Budapest to Warsaw and from Warsaw to Cluj, so these were 2 accomplished, successful flights, so they said they will not give any compensation for that. But well, I didn't want it to go to Warsaw, of course I wanted to go to Toronto, and nobody cared about that. I also tried Air Help. This is some kind of compensation site for flights, but they also said that it's no option to get the money back. So the biggest issue was rebooking the flights. They didn't know how they can get a new flight for more than 300 people. Well, of course, it was a big Boeing 777 airplane flying to Toronto, so we were many passengers claiming for a new route to Canada. And well, I didn't want it to risk, and they also said that it's not for sure, so that's why I chose to cancel this trip, because I said, okay, if I will travel only on the 2nd day to Toronto, I also need to shift my flight back, and they said it's not possible because all these flights are fully booked, so it's not that easy to have such a late rearrangements, and these big airline companies also don't have any reserve flights. Well, many passengers said, why don't you have a reserve airplane? Of course, it's a loss of money, and they will never do that. So usually they keep all airplanes busy, and they place them on routes, and it's not like that they can just pull out from the hat some random airplane, and we can take that in order to fly to Canada. And that airplane which brought us back was supposed to fly back to Toronto on that day, but for that flight it was also fully booked, so that's why we need to wait 2 days, and that was also unsure. So I don't blame myself for taking this decision. I hope that I can try flying to Niagara Falls this year. So yeah, I still think that LOT Polish Airlines didn't react well to this situation. They were very unprepared, even though they knew that we are on the way back. So it is from Reykjavik, it is more than 2 hours flight to Warsaw. It was not like that we just jumped back and everybody was surprised about hosting 300 people. So they could bring more staff or somebody to take care of us, to give us a bottle of water. We were waiting in the queue without even having a drink or something. Yeah, I hope that this will never happen to anybody in the world, and this guy will be punished and will learn from this situation. So this was the story about this absolutely incredible, absolutely shocking trip, which led to nowhere. I can say that because I already visited Warsaw before. And yeah, I hope that you can still enjoy this story, even though it is very sad and it's very shocking. And please subscribe to my channel if you didn't do it yet. It's very important to push on the bell icon, because this is how you get notified about the new contents. Have a nice day and goodbye.